taken the further step you're talking about?
Most of us as women, the moment you do the traditional marriage, we hope for the big do, for the big wedding. So we keep on waiting instead of first having your security and having this marriage registered so that if anything happened, if this man died tomorrow and probably you have properties, you have an estate, you're considered a wife, but the registrar general will ask you, what is the evidence of this marriage? And you have nothing to show.
This weekend on UBC.
This is how we play. Play with power.
This is how we do it.
How we put a team together. This is how we pass on greatness. Because with this team to inspire us, there's nothing we can't do.
Go for goals and win. Buy a Pepsi glass bottle or Pepsi Max 330 ml. Check another crown and win soda, TVs, caps, t-shirts and cash. Redeem prizes at any Pepsi depot or truck countrywide. Terms and conditions apply.
Pepsi, for the love of it.
Are your children ready to learn? Schools are open. As parents and guardians, it is your duty to ensure that your children go back to school. COVID-19 prevention measures have been put in place to keep students safe as they go back to school. Not only do teachers prioritize everyone's health, including their own, but they discourage violence among students. They also ensure that students follow SOPs. Any concerns are reported to a school administrator or senior woman or man teacher for correction and further guidance. Dear parents and guardians, you too must play your role. Ensure your children always maintain a 2-meter distance from others, avoid crowded places, regularly wash their hands with soap and water, and wear a washed and clean face mask that covers their mouths and noses. Please keep your children at home if they're feeling sick, and take note. In our effort to keep students safe, there are no visitation days or any other school visits allowed. Let's share knowledge, not COVID-19. This message is supported by the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education and Sports, and UNICEF. Stay safe.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Buli munya-Uganda nayitinga amakuru marungi. UBC West eyina amakuru marungi kandi agali kwesigwa. Leero za program zaayo ziri omu Lunyakitara hamwe n'Olufumbira. UBC West eyina tekinologiya ey'omulembe eri kugibaasisa kuhika omu bicweka byona omu ihanga nangu n'aheeru y'eihanga. Tukwatire aha frequencies ezo: Kisoro 97 katonyeze mushanju fama, Kabale 93 katonyeze mushanju fama, Hoima 99 katonyeze mwe fama, Kampala 105 katonyeze mushanju fama, Mbarara 97 katonyeze ina fama, Footpoto 98 katonyeze munana fama, Masindi 105 fama. Kurikiriza UBC West ohulire embagatiza. UBC West empika huna.
This weekend on UBC.
Traditionally, when I go and I'm introduced by my lady to her parents, you guys consider it a marriage?
Yes, it's a marriage. It's a traditional marriage under the law. Customary, you pay the dowry and the parents have got to know you and told you, our daughter is getting married, this is what we want for you to have as a wife. And so if you fulfill that, you're married. However, you must go an extra mile to have this marriage registered.
We have more women that have gone through that, and they're at home, and they've not taken the further step you're talking about.
Most of us as women, the moment you do the traditional marriage, we hope for the big do, for the big wedding. So we keep on waiting instead of first having your security and having this marriage registered, so that if anything happened, if this man died tomorrow and probably you have properties, you have an estate, you're considered a wife, but the registrar general will ask you, what is the evidence of this marriage? And you have nothing to show.
This weekend on UBC.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
A good morning to you once again, and thank you so much for keeping it with us here on Good Morning Uganda. It is now an extension of Good Morning Uganda, and this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Once again, I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyitono, and we appreciate the time, the effort you take to be part of this show every morning. Now today, I'll begin with an apology. We're expecting that is Honorable John Baptist Nambesha, but unfortunately he communicated the loss of his father. We pray for him, we sympathize with him, and we pray for the entire family that God may strengthen them at this trying moment where they've lost a lovely one. However, I'm with my colleague Jagenda Semapula. I usually love referring to him as the man with the unique hairstyle. I don't know if it is afro or what, well, he will tell me better. And he's smartly dressed with a blue tie, and with whom we are going to be deliberating a number of issues that have happened and they have dominated, that is the media, in terms of the electronic and the print media, plus of late, yes, though it's electronic, the social media. And we want to start with, that is DRC Congo being admitted into the East African community. Now, we all know Congo is a very big area in terms of coverage compared to a number of East African states. And its joining greatly brings the numbers. Now, in terms of population, we have moved from the 183 million people that were in the 6 member states, now to 275 million people. In terms of land coverage, we have moved, that is from 2.4 million square kilometers, and now we stand at 4.7 million square meters. Not forgetting that also this gives us an opportunity now to have access, that is to the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, because now a member state, among others. And these are some of the issues we're going to be deliberating on with Jagenda. Jagenda.
Yes, thank you very much.
A lovely morning to you.
Thank you very much, and a lovely morning to you, Chirabo Nyonyitono, and of course to all our viewers out there. You have a very good friend, my teacher or former teacher. I don't know, the teachers also former teachers, who is a very good and ardent follower of your programs. Teacher Tom Chwanuka, he actually watches you every morning, and he's watching us this morning. But unfortunately, like you said, we were expecting to have the Honorable John Baptist Nambesha in studio this morning, but he lost a father, Mzee Henry Masoro. He succumbed to prostate cancer. Cancer is another killer, very soft, very fluid, and we don't give it much attention, but people are dying of cancer. So Mzee Masoro died this morning, and burial will be on Saturday. In Burenga. Burenga, Busai County, Busai Parish in Manjia. That's in Bududa, not Burenga, but Burenga of the Burenga village in Manjia in Bududa. So well, Ndugu Nambeshe, accept our condolences. We bereave and mourn with you, and of course commiserate with you for the loss of your father, and of course others. We talk about Nambeshe because it is Nambeshe who has told us he's lost a father, and we're expecting to have him in studios here. But thank you very much again, away from, of course, all those things, many things, of course, are happening. We expect, we will talk about the late Jacob Lokori Olanya. Like you said, his body is getting into the country tomorrow. We expect that the border will be here tomorrow, and barrier arrangements will be as given to us by the Honorable Minister who is in charge of the organizing committee. And we'll see what happens. By next week on Friday, Olanya's remains will also now be no more. So the rest will be Olanya in pictures and Olanya in talks, and that's it. Coming to Congo, I think it's one of the greatest feats for the East African community. When the community was being formed, when you look at their treaty, the 1967 treaty, the ESC treaty, of course, the founding partners or the founding states, Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya, in Article 3 of their treaty, they actually talk about how another country can join the community, how they can admit the community. And the thing that they talk about there is the geographical proximity of a member intending to join and the proximity to the intending member, the applying member. So when you look at the community, is ideally Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. Now you have Rwanda, Burundi. Then of course you brought South Sudan. Somalia is requesting. DRC has been accepted to this. DRC has very unique things to it. In the world, I think it is the second, one of the second biggest countries in the world that has actually many neighbors. In Africa, I think it's the DRC that has more neighbors than it borders more countries than any other country in Africa. It has about 9 countries that it borders. Now, when you look at the current ESC, how it is only I think Kenya that has no boundary with the DRC, but the rest of the countries, border. Maybe Kenya and Burundi, but all the other countries border Congo. So when you interpret Article 3 of their treaty, then it means the coming in of Congo, before you even look at the economic interests, before you look at all the things that you talked about here and what it brings, the population, the economy, the strategy, is it also now gives an opportunity of extension of the community, meaning the other countries that are bordering with the Congo and they are not part of the ESC establishment already, then it also gives and opens a route for them. For example, you have the other side, you have the Central African Republic, you have Congo Republic of Sassou Nguesso, you have Angola, and you have Zambia. Those are all neighbors of the DRC. So meaning Zambia can actually now request to also join the community. Basing on Article 3 of their treaty, the proximity and the geography, it can come. Angola can come, Central African Republic can come. Now, when they also come, because they're part of the community, they extend. So, to me, I look at it as one of the ways of growing it bigger than the East African community, and of course now maybe running towards a united Africa that we've always talked about and that we've always dreamed of.
But you also have other regional blocks. You have COMESA, then you have the SADC.
Yes, and I think that's also very good because, President Museveni disagreed with the late brother Muammar Gaddafi over a united Africa at the time when Gaddafi was pushing for it. And President Museveni, then Zuma, and I think the president of Central African Republic at that time, they were pushing and saying, let's first of all strengthen regional blocks. Because, a united Africa in one instance may not be a possibility. But when you strengthen regional blocks, now, the continent has 8 regional blocks. They have the Arab Maghreb, they have the COMESA, we have IGAD, we have the Sahel, the Sahel, the SENA, I think it's called SENA-SAC. Then we have SADC, we have ECOWAS, we have all these. Now, these regional blocks cater for those regional interests as it is. And amazingly, according to the African Union, it is the ESC that is the leader. It's the anchor block that all the others actually benchmark it. It's the leading block in integration and stuff like that. So once you build these economic blocks, regions like that. Now, for example, when you talk about the Sahel region or the countries under the Sahel coming together, is the members there, Somalia, for example, Eritrea, Ethiopia, that are requesting to join the East African community. Now once you have them onto the East African community, then we also meet, we have convergences. We also meet at IGAD, we meet at COMESA, we meet at COMESA with the other countries that are not part of this. Now, to me, I think, yes, the regional blocks are very good, but they only help us to actually come together for a common cause. Once you keep understanding those, Gaddafi was pushing for a united Africa, and he thought it would maybe just work in an instant. And President Museveni, Jacob Zuma of South Africa at that time was saying, no, let's strengthen SADC. For example, you have a conflict with SADC, for example, now. You have a country like the United Republic of Tanzania that is in SADC but also in EAC. Now, Tanzania is one of the founding fathers or partners of the EAC. But Tanzania has also strength in SADC. So do we conflict? Do we tear Tanzania apart and say, let the part of you go to East Africa and let the other part of you go to SADC? No. Now, you've brought in the DRC. When you bring in the DRC, you've opened a door for Angola and Zambia. Angola and Zambia are part of the Southern Bloc. So meaning you are now extending, because the other day, if the president, Hakainde Hichilema, says we're also applying, we want to join, what happens? If the president in Angola also says we want to come, then what happens? We grow it, because what are the ideals and what are these reasons why we actually form or come together, for the reasons that bring us together. So this shouldn't be exclusive clubs of particular countries and say we limit it to East Africans and we'll be East Africans forever, or we limit it to this and we'll be this forever. So we need to strengthen the blocks, but also to allow for expansion and extension.
Well, you've talked about strengthen the blocks, but Jagenda, we know that integration depends on, one, the will, away from just pen and paper, but also how each of these member states is positioned. We look at the European Union. 2 years back, we saw the Brexit, where the UK failed. Either it opened up so much, it was getting less. Now, let's take a case of Uganda. When we look at the East African Community member states, we know Uganda, we could have a mileage over the fact that we host a number of refugees, maybe in terms of pacifying, we've also tried something. But when we look at the core reason for this integration was more so economical. And when you look at in terms of value addition of what we sell, what we trade, do you think we are well placed to tap from this? Or with the opening now, Kenya has better industries, Kenya has people who package better, they're so aggressive compared to Ugandans. What does this mean to Uganda in this integration with the new baby on board?
I think, and you see that's why it is. You just talked about the Brexit from the EU. Now, when you look at their treaty, the treaty that forms the EU, and you notice, one, there was an issue of ego amongst those nations. Now, you talk about a country like Britain. Britain has been a superpower for so many years. It dominated the world. It ruled almost everything in here. And it was, at one time, the empire that everybody cherished. Now, it's disintegrated. It's I actually even keep talking and asking people where the Great Britain is. And you don't know what is that United Kingdom? Where is the United Kingdom? Because the kingdom has actually dismembered. Scotland is gone, Wales is gone, and everybody's gone. So you can't now find the United Kingdom any longer. But even when they were making and forming their European Union, you remember countries like Italy had their own money called the lira, Italian lira. German had their German Deutschmark. Spain had their own peseta. France had their monies. I think the francs. The Germans had their mark, and everybody, every one of them had their own currency, which of course they had now to get into one common currency called the euro, and it's actually called the eurozone. Now, amazingly, this is what will actually, and I saw this coming, as in Germany sometime during elections when we were electing Chancellor Angela for I think a third term. I participated, I attended those elections, and it's amazing that I had pounds with me, but I also had dollars with me, and amazing, I didn't have euros with me. And I couldn't trade, I couldn't buy anything, I couldn't eat anything. I went and I couldn't be served. They told me this is called a eurozone. Don't bring your pounds here, don't bring your dollars here. And to me, I said, well, you can shun away $1 because $1 is $1 anyway. It is some other power somewhere. But how about £1 for a member that belongs here? And they said, no, if you want to use £1, then you have to go to the UK, go to London, go to whatever, but you can't read it here. So then those own issues that you have a very strong economic power in the Eurozone, which is Germany. Now, Germany sets the pace. Germany is the agenda setter. And of course, the British couldn't feel that this is there. Then, there's actually extend beyond the economics that you see, the politics that you see, the democracies that you see, and it goes into the other things. Sports, for example. There are very big competitions between what you call, we just talk about these things when you're analyzing football here, the German Bundesliga, the English Premiership, the Italian Serie, there's a Serie A, yes, the Italian Serie A, then the Spanish League One or whatever. These things are actually a big competition to them. Very, very, very massive competition that it's our league, it's our league, it's our that, we dominate in this. And so it causes those things. Now, coming back to Uganda or coming back to our region here, you talk about the strategic positioning of Uganda. Yes. Now, Uganda is a landlocked country, but land-linked. Just look at the countries that neighbor Uganda in the block where we are in East African region. You can spring in Uganda and go to Kenya without going through another country. You can spring in Uganda and go to Tanzania without going through another country. From Uganda you can go to Rwanda. From Uganda you can go to Sudan. From Uganda you can go to Congo. From Uganda you can go to Tanzania. Now that's an advantage that even if you are trying to examine the cost of trading and you're taking something to Kenya or to Tanzania or to Rwanda or Sudan or anywhere, it wouldn't give you those ramifications of I am supposed to take this. For example, now if you bring in the Central African Republic into the community and Uganda wants to take something there, then you'll say we'll have to drive through DRC for us to access the Central African Republic. But as we are now, we are here. Two, we have good soils. We have all so to me, I think, and in any case, if we look at our position as maybe a vulnerable one, then that's what we need to cultivate to say in this vulnerable position of we are this landlocked, land-linked. How do we utilize that, and how do we benefit from this? Because ultimately, when you look at our population of just 40 million people, 40 million people cannot be a very big market for everything
Definitely,
that we ever
yes.
think about producing or growing in this country. So that's why we need an extended community.
Just remembering when we had COVID-19 lockdown, how our goods went solo in terms of costs because we were not able to export them out of Uganda. We are still looking at Democratic Republic of Congo being admitted, that is the East African community. Allow us to go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll be discussing more regarding this. And of course, we'll also look into the barrier arrangements and also the life of the fallen Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
This weekend on UBC.
Traditionally, when I go and I'm introduced by my lady to her parents, you guys consider it a marriage?
Yes, it's a marriage. It's a traditional marriage under the law. Customary, you pay the dowry and the parents have got to know you and told you our daughter is getting married. This is what we want for you to have as a wife.
And
so if you fulfill that, you're married. However, you must go an extra mile to have this marriage registered.
We have more women that have gone through that and they're at home and they've not taken the further step you're talking about.
Most of us as women, the moment you do the traditional marriage, we hope for the big do, for the big wedding. So we keep on waiting instead of first having your security and having this marriage registered so that if anything happened, if this man died tomorrow and probably you have properties, you have an estate, you're considered a wife, but the Registrar General will ask you, what is the evidence of this marriage? And you have nothing to show.
This weekend on UBC.
When COVID came, it felt like it destroyed everything my mom had built. She was ready to let go of her dreams. But when one door shuts, a window opens. She grabbed her last kamani and took a leap of faith. She refused to give up. So with a bit of daring and grandma's secret recipe, her business was back. And not just bigger, beyond her wildest imagination.
This is a story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you or call or SMS 162. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Are your children ready to learn? Schools are open. As parents and guardians, it is your duty to ensure that your children go back to school. COVID-19 prevention measures have been put in place to keep students safe as they go back to school. Not only do teachers prioritize everyone's health, including their own, but they discourage violence among students. They also ensure that students follow SOPs. Any concerns are reported to a school administrator or senior woman or man teacher for correction and further guidance. Dear parents and guardians, you too must play your role. Ensure your children always maintain a 2-meter distance from others, avoid crowded places, regularly wash their hands with soap and water, and wear a washed and clean face mask that covers their mouths and noses. Please keep your children at home if they're feeling sick, and take note. In our effort to keep students safe, there are no visitation days or any other school visits allowed. Let's share knowledge, not COVID-19. This message is supported by the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education and Sports, and UNICEF. Stay safe.
This is how we play. Play with power.
This is how we do it.
How we put a team together. This is how we pass on greatness. Because with this team to inspire us, there's nothing we can't do.
Go for goals and win. Buy a Pepsi glass bottle or Pepsi Max 330 ml. Check another crown and win soda, TVs, caps, t-shirts and cash. Redeem prizes at any Pepsi depot or truck countrywide. Terms and conditions apply.
Pepsi, for the love of it.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that commercial break. Thank you so much for being it with us. And this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Robert Chirabo Nyonyitono with Jagenda Semakula Zikusoka. We are still looking at the admission of Congo, that is Democratic Republic of Congo, to be more particular, into that is the East African Community. Now there are 7 member states. From the 6th, Congo making it number 7. Now, Jagenda, let's also look at peace. One of the problems this globe has faced has been peace. If you go down, if you move Sudan, South Sudan, you find that issue. You go to Congo, Kenya, relatively, and they're going to an election, we hope and pray. I don't see a recap of what happened. Uganda, yes, but you still have remnants of the ADF there. So Congo, one of the safe havens for a number of rebels, I think because of its vastness and huge vegetation. Now, being part of the East African community, does this play in negatives or positives?
Well, thank you very much. Paul Kulia, in his book Wars, Guns and Votes, he talks about these things and he says if you are to disorganize the continent of Africa, you bring 3 things. Make wars, bring guns, and bring votes. Once we get into elections, you just talked about Kenya. You don't know what it will come out of that, because when we get into elections, to us, it is a do or die. It now becomes a tug of war. And the other thing, of course, that has also disorganized our continent is the wars. Now, these wars are because we have all these guns floating. We do not produce guns. But we are the biggest gun market in the world, I think. Everybody who makes guns, they actually sell them to us because we cherish love and know how to maybe use them against our own selves. When you talk about a peace and talk about Congo as it is, you know, you need to look at Congo. I heard you talk about the statistics here of how vast the country is, how big the country is, with all these natural forests, and they have places, of course, that are very good as habitable places for militias and rebels, etc. But you also need to appreciate one thing, that it is said, according to the experts, when you look and examine at the economic worth of the minerals in the DRC, they tell you DRC has up to about 24 trillion US dollars worth of minerals in that country. Now, if you have 24 trillion US dollars, then that's bigger than the US economy itself, and that's bigger than the Chinese economy, because the Chinese economy, I think 2021 is up to about 17.7 trillion dollars. Now, you have some country with minerals, with a mineral worth that is more than these two big economies. Of course, not both of them combined, but if you explore that, then Congo would actually be the richest country on the planet Earth. But who would allow that to happen? Who would allow that to happen? Get back to history. When we lost and when they killed Patrice Emery Lumumba in the 60s, the idea was to actually see that happens. A man called Tim Howard, in his book, he wrote a book called Prisoners of Geography, and when he talks about in his book Prisoners of Geography, he details the 10 maps that speak about the geopolitics, and that's what we have. And when he's talking about the map of Africa, where of course the DRC is, he says the Belgians laid an egg without a chicken in it. We were given an egg without a chicken in it. Now that's a country that we have.
Because definitely it was all about partitioning and scramble.
Exactly, but
who
you
takes
see,
what?
Laying an egg without a chicken in my language, chetuita ejesumba, you know, nti backward ejesumba nga neboli mamira terisobola kuvamu kakoko, and that's the kind of country that we're talking about. But there are things about the DRC that you need to appreciate, because DRC itself is about 91 times bigger than one country called Rwanda. But Rwanda can actually sustain the DRC. Rwanda, small as it is, Rwanda is 91 times smaller. Uganda, I think, is about 11 times smaller than than the DRC.
Yes.
Just look at that. With a population that doubles Uganda, you know, you need to get the Uganda's population times 2 to actually just get the people in the DRC. The land, as you're talking about it, when they were launching the Africa Dream 2063 during the times of Nkosazana and Dlamini Zuma at the AU in 2013, when they're celebrating 50 years of the African Union, they launched what they call the flagship projects of the African Union. And of the flagship projects of the African Union, I will talk about only two things. They talked about silencing the guns, which was their theme 2020 onwards. Silencing the guns, why? Because we need to see guns go silent on the continent of Africa to spur the economic development that you're talking about. Now, secondly, they were talking about the development of the Ingo dams. Now, it is said that the water bodies in Congo, the River Congo and all the others, have capacity to generate hydropower that can actually sustain and feed and give surplus to all of us on the continent. Now, these are things, but the question is, who will allow for that to happen? Who will allow for that to happen? That's why on one day we are admitting the DRC into the fraternity of the ESC. Then on that same day you hear that the M23 have actually now stormed Bunagana and they're killing people, and you know, people are flooding into one country as refugees. As one good event is happening, one very extreme bad event is also happening the other side.
Well, Jagenda rightly said, one would say, who will allow this? And of course I was reading some report by UN that say that many of the natural resources in Congo are not being used in East Africa or Africa at large, but they are going outside Africa. Great cities have been built on the natural resources of Congo, right from old times, and even now they continue to. But you find that one of the biggest change of East African member states is that a rebel in your country is allegedly sponsored by me. A rebel in your country is harbored by me. So do we see this coming together and being part of the community, helping in taming this continuous acts. No country you'll find within these states that has rebels and will not tell you, South Sudan will give you a group or a country that is funding. Rwanda will accuse another country. Uganda will also say, no, you're giving this a safe haven. So with this unity, with this coming together, we expect that maybe this can easily sit and better iron out these issues. Or are we going to see independence? Because one of the things in this treaty is, much as we are coming together, sovereignty of each country is something they treasure so much. And independence. That's why we remember where we had the aflatoxins. We had our dairy products rejected. We had the fish, Uganda impounded fish from Kenya. And we said it could be legal in your country, but in Uganda it is illegal. Therefore we are getting it. So how do these play?
You talked about something very important, sovereignty. Now, in international law, sovereignty is one of the aspects of recognition of states. And so for you to be called a state, you must have that sovereignty. And that's why Palestine is actually not referred to as a state. And not, it's not a state actor in global issues of politics or whatever that is. So sovereignty is very important. And you know, when you come to these treaties, is you come with your sovereignty, you come with your population, you come with your land and all the things. So my thinking is, you're talking about the issues of security in the region, etc. And I'm only thinking that one of the reasons I think why we had to push so hard to see that we get the DRC into the fraternity is because I am pretty much convinced that the DRC can mediate conflicts onto in our region. I have that conviction that they can. First and foremost is now, once you have the into the fraternity, they are members here, then they are part of you. They are part of us, they are part of, all of us. They are part of Rwanda now, they are part of Uganda, they are part of Kenya, they are part of Tanzania, they are part of Sudan, South Sudan, and they are part of Burundi, all of us into the community as member number 7. Now, admitting them is, I am sure that they have the potential, they come with the capacity and the capabilities of actually mediating our conflicts on the continent or actually in the region. Is now, once you have them in here, you have President Chilombo Tshisekedi as one of us. What about the other day? If the rotation of leadership moves from President Muigai Kenyatta now to Felix Chilombo Tshisekedi, what will that happen? Because he's part of this. Why the enemies or the rebels thrive so much in the DRC is because of the good hideouts that they have. Recently, you had when our commanders there, Commander Muhanga and others, talk about the Operation Shuja and the places and of course how terrible and thick and tough these forests are, the hideouts. Because rebels don't live on the streets, they don't live in flats, they don't live in apartments, they don't live in villas.
It must be hard to get.
Exactly, and Congo gives that. Now Congo is impenetrable, the routes are not very good. If you've been to Congo and you see the movement in Congo, what exactly, one of the things that we need to thank ourselves for as a country is first of all that accessibility, that movement from border to border is actually free and easy and quick, which is not the case with Congo. That the pursuit for rebels and militias becomes difficult in such situations. But once we are there together and say, okay, now there will be roads built. Congo is neighboring 9 other countries. He has 9 other neighbors or borders. So if you say we're making routes to connect from Congo to the other countries or from the other countries to Congo and making them easy. So for me, I think yes. Number 2, we also need to look at the track record of the man who has not been there for so long. I think he came in 2018, President Chilombo Tshisekedi, taking over from Kabila. When he came, just a very short stint as president of the DRC, he took over the chairmanship of the African Union, taking over from, I think, President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa. So, and what is done there? Many people are saying, okay, you have a man who's just come into the leadership and he has a troubled country. How do you actually give him a whole continent to lead the African Union that also has got its own troubles? Because yes. Exactly. But you see, these are challenges. These are challenges that we human beings create or make, and these are same challenges that we still have the capacity to mitigate, to sort, to manage, or to even actually solve. So I am thinking that having the DRC into the community can help us actually manage security issues now, because we are dealing with somebody that we are in a marriage with. We are not dealing with somebody who we're just courting, that you're not sure whether they will say yes or no. They're now part of the community, and I think they need to appreciate that.
Well, we've been handling that, which is DRC now admitted into the East African community. We just pray and hope that actually we shall have the dream of our forefathers, the founders, some that are no longer in existence.
I think all of them.
All of them, but also with the reviving.
Yeah, the revivers, there's only President Museveni.
There's only President Museveni, the revivers.
Because the other revivers, Daniel Moi and Benjamin Mkapa,
are no more. We hope that their dream, which was to see a well-empowered East African community benefiting from its huge population economically, is achieved. Agenda tomorrow, of course, we're still in the morning, the death of the foreign Speaker of Parliament.
At 2 p.m.
The body is expected to arrive into the country tomorrow. A brief before we leave. Let's dedicate these remaining minutes to the life and the journey of Jacob Oulanyah. When we talk about Jacob Oulanyah, do you have any personal encounters, or what stands out?
He was the UPC.
Okay.
That stands out. NASA has laughed at that, but that to me stands out. Jacob Oulanyah was a member of the Congress. Yes, he was a congressman, and his vigor is what he actually got from the Congress. I've been reading so much being written about, especially Anita Annett among the Speaker and her deputy Thomas Tayebwa, the FDC saying these came to our nursery, they were inducted by the FDC. I reminded somebody, I think Salam Muslim, and I told her, but Tayebwa did not start with FDC. Tayebwa started with NDF, actually, the National, I think it was called National Democratic Front of Chapa Karuhanga. You remember the party, Chapa Karuhanga used to contest it for presidency in 2001. So that's where Thomas Tayebwa comes now. If you want to, if anybody's take pride in Tayebwa today, then Chapa Karuhanga actually should be the first, or the NDF people, I should say. We inducted, we spotted the young man, Tayebwa, yes. Then FDC took on him, now NRM has taken him, and he's now at the helm.
But I think there's so much political, if I use the word I was going to use, it would be bad. Would we call it political migration?
No, but see, but that's okay. That's okay.
Because if you look at politicians, very few would have been in this party till now. Maybe the likes of Paul Kawanga Semwogere. But many have had this continuous migration, movement from one party to the other.
But I think it's okay. Even President Museveni also moved parties.
That's why I said many.
That's what I'm saying, that even President Museveni moved parties, and he moved to places. Why? Because he was looking for an opening, he was looking for an opportunity where he can actually serve the country and serve the people. So to me, I actually think that's pretty much okay. If you're convinced that Uganda People's Congress cannot take power, and you want to serve people, what do you do with the UPC? So if there is an opportunity for you to move from UPC but ultimately serve the country and serve the nation, what about if Jacob Oulanyah had actually stuck and said, I will not move from UPC, I will not think about NRM, I will not do anything with the NRM. Now, from being a congressman, he comes to the NRM, he gets to parliament, he does all this, he contests actually and becomes a vice chairperson of the NRM northern region, you know, and the time he dies is one of the people who sit not just in parliament, but even in SEC, the ruling party. He's one of the privileged, I think, 30 who make the
Central Executive Committee.
The Central Executive Committee, the topmost organ of. So to me, I think yes. And you asking me what stands out? Like I said, I remember the Jacob Oulanyah of the Congress. I did not have points of interaction with Jacob Oulanyah. I have had an opportunity to interview, to interact, to moderate sessions where speakers have been. I hosted them, the Rebecca Kadagas and all the others. I've hosted them in studio like here. I didn't get the opportunity to host Jacob Oulanyah, so I'll not tell a lie, I'll not pretend or do anything. But I'm only sure that just like of course all the others have said, we lost a giant, we lost a leader, and we lost a man who really loved research. My understanding of Oulanyah is I could see him even when he was a deputy speaker. I actually know him him much more when he was leading the parliamentary legal, the legal committee of parliament, the legal affairs committee of parliament, and when he was also head of the rules and procedure, the committee on rules and procedure. And I think these are some of the things that made that man, Olanya, that many of us saw. So eventually when he became deputy speaker in 2011, 2016, 2021, he came up and you could see him when he talks. He's one man who spoke with research. He's one man who spoke with facts. He's one man who spoke and maybe being a lawyer and of course also a lecturer of law. At some point he knows, in law when you're urging anything, it is not gwara. It is authority. What is your authority? You're saying this, but what is your authority? Where do you derive your authority to actually do the submission that you've done? So even when it comes to parliament, you stand and Olanya would want to know under what rule you're proceeding, under what rule you actually started.
Remember his term, what does the law say, Honorable Member of
Exactly.
Parliament?
Yes, as a lawyer, he knows that. You don't listen to stories and craft them and take them like that. The authority comes in and say, if it is this principle, where do you derive that principle? Where do you get that principle? That kind of authority. So I am only thinking, well, Olanya has not been with us for now, I think, almost 2 weeks. He's gone. We still have his body with us. His earth remains. His spirit is away from us. It's gone. And I only just say, where Olanya has gone is where all of us will go. Olanya was here sometime. Olanya has now gone. Olanya cannot return to us. It is we who will actually go and find Olanya where he's gone, because that's scripture and that's life. When God was bringing Olanya to the earth, he didn't negotiate with anybody. And so when he was taking him, he still wouldn't negotiate with us, because if they had called us for a referendum to say, do you allow Olanya to die or not? Maybe all of us would have said, no, he shouldn't die. But because the author of life decided that way, we will miss Olanya. So we're only waiting for his body to return tomorrow to the country. And then, of course, the process of sending him
events
off.
to see him off will happen. Well, we shall all at one time die. But what is important is what legacy do we leave behind? How do you want to be remembered? As a person who did much with jargon and
actually,
also...
let me end with that particular. How do we want to be remembered? When you read the Bible in Genesis chapter 5, there's a man called Adam. Adam lived for 930 years. That's what the scriptures say. And there's a man called Jesus Christ. Jesus lived for 33 years. But the legacy of Jesus is not the same legacy of Adam, who lived 930 years. So it doesn't matter how long you live, but of what impact have you lived? What impact have you caused to the people? So to me, I think even if you have a short stint of life, Steve Jobs of Apple, it died, I think, at 54. There are people who have lived up to 90, 100, and the only thing you can talk about them is the man has lived for 100 years. And that's all you can say. So when the man dies and bury him, then you've buried him. Then a 54-year-old like Steve Jobs dies, and all this is there. Olanya died when he was making 57. He died just a few days to 57. So, but we'll talk about Olanya.
He's gone down the books of history.
Many years later, 57 years later,
just to call it all, we can say the life of Jacob Olanya, in my opinion, is a life well spent, a life full spent, and a life that leaves behind so many lessons for the rest of us. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Have a lovely day. God bless you. See you tomorrow.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.